Alright, welcome to the channel, everybody, and welcome to your NFL Week 1 picks against the spread. Week 1 of the NFL season is upon us. These picks are brought to you by no one, but if any sports books want to hook me up, DMs are open. But nonetheless, we've got 5 picks against the spread. We're going to do this every week. Full closure, I don't have a big track record. I'm not saying that you should definitely use these. I am just using this as more of a way to start keeping track of my own picks and bets. And, maybe next year we can see where we were at last year and try to improve from there. So this is by no means telling you that these picks are 100% locks or anything. This is just for my own amusement more than anything. So, going into Week 1, I have 5 picks for you here on the channel. As you can tell, the Terrible Towel wrap-up. We're going to be here after every Steeler game. We're going to have a breakdown of my thoughts and opinions on all the Steelers games throughout the years, or throughout the weeks, as I'm a big Steelers fan, of course. And, we'll do more throughout the league and all that, and we'll have every week picks against the spread. See how we do. It might go terribly, might lose all of the money, but, we will see how it goes. Alright, so my first pick in these 5 predictions is the Packers +3 going at the Bears on Thursday night. Just point blank, I think Rodgers and LaFleur are going to work. I think Aaron Rodgers needed to get away from Mike McCarthy, and now that he's finally got that, I think he's going to get a lot more free reign. I think he's going to be able to show what he hasn't been able to do the last couple of years and really have a big bounce back year. As far as the Bears, they lost Vic Fangio, their defensive coordinator, and, I don't think that's going to be a monumental loss because any way you slice it, the defense that the Bears still have with Khalil Mack and Eddie Jackson in the secondary, and just an all-around just stacked defense all the way through the corners, the secondary. There's not really much of a weak spot in their defense. But I do think that anytime that Aaron Rodgers is given any points, I like that as a better. So I'm going to take the Packers +3. I think they win outright, but even if they do lose, I can see it being a 1 or 2 point game, as it was last year. I believe the Packers and the Bears opened, and the Packers won by 1, if I'm not mistaken. That was the game Rodgers got injured and came back in and led the comeback. So overall, I expect the Bears to take a step back from where they were last year. I think their offense is going to be a lot more stagnant, and it already was a little bit last year. But Matt Nagy was able to protect Mitchell Trubisky and really hide his flaws as a quarterback. And it really comes down to him. He's going to make or break this Bears season, and he's shown signs of being able to be an above-average quarterback, but the problem is that he's just too inconsistent. Now, it could go the complete opposite direction. It could go that Mitchell Trubisky is able to hammer things out, and he's able to, at least stay consistent and just be able to be more of the game manager that they really need him to be. But, I think their offense is going to struggle this year. Their defense, I don't expect it to take a huge step back, but I do think they are going to miss Vic Fangio. And I think more teams are going to get more used to the way to play against that Bears defense, as well as really try to harass Trubisky and really get after him. So I like the Packers in this one. If not to win, I will take Aaron Rodgers with the points almost any time, unless it's against someone like New England or something. But against the Bears, I like the Packers for this one. Next, we have the Eagles -10 versus the Redskins. I don't really like going with big spreads just because anything can happen. There are times when a game is completely lopsided and not competitive, but it's still going to be less than 10 points difference. So it's very possible I could end up getting burned on this one. But, I think the Redskins are completely outmatched in this game. I think they really struggled to pass protect all preseason. They're starting Case Keenum, who I don't trust at all. You can look at the game against the Vikings in the championship game a couple years ago that really accentuated that Case Keenum is not meant to be a starting quarterback in the NFL at this point in his career. And, especially with him not having a great offensive line behind him, or in front of him, rather, I think the Eagles are really going to get after him. And with the more healthy and prepared Eagles, this roster is stacked. You've got pass rushers, you've got secondary. On offense, they've got Deshaun Jackson back. Hopefully, Carson Wentz is going to be able to go through a full, healthy season. And, they have Jordan Howard now, who, I'm not completely sold on as a bell cow back. I'm not sure what his role is going to be, but either way, it's not a bad get for them. I just think the Redskins are completely outmatched in this. I expect Philly to win by at least 17. And, if they don't, it's very possible they could dominate this whole game and win by 8 or 9 or 7, and that happens sometimes. But I like the Eagles a lot in this. I think they get off right away with a big start, and I have them winning the NFC East this year. I think they're going to be a force to be reckoned with, just an absolutely stacked roster. Next, we have the Seahawks, minus 9.5 versus the Bengals. Again, I just said I don't like big lines, but here I am. So, I guarantee I get burned by at least one of those. But Seattle against Cincinnati. Cincinnati last year had one of the worst defenses statistically of all time. I don't think there is a lot that's going to change for Cincinnati. AJ Green isn't going to play this game, I don't believe, if what I read previously was accurate. So they're not going to be able to really test out Seattle's secondary a lot. It's still Andy Dalton. It's still the same old Bengals. And now Seattle has Jadeveon Clowney going into this game, and I think they're hopefully going to get off to a big start right away with him. And really, I think that this Seahawks team we saw last year, they were the only team that ran the ball more than 50% of the time, just barely, like 50.5% of the time. And that's when they really found their identity and started stringing together wins, because they were off to that terribly slow starts. And that night game against the Bears, everyone was writing them off. They're terrible. They're going nowhere. And then, they just found their identity and just ran the ball, ran it up the middle. Old school mentality. It's the same thing the Patriots do, and it's why they succeed so much. So I think Seattle knows their identity now. I think they're going to be able to take advantage of a not good Bengals defense. And I think they're going to be able to get Rashad Penny involved, get all their other backs involved, and then be able to play off the play action with Wilson. I expect them to win by probably 14 points. And this one's at Seattle, so you always got the advantage there in playing in Seattle. I expect Seattle to take a step back this year, and I don't think they're going to be a playoff team again. But against the Bengals for this week, I do like them a lot. Next, we'll stay in the NFC West. We're going with the 49ers in a pick'em against the Buccaneers at Tampa Bay. Simply put, I just think the 49ers are all around the better team. I like Jimmy G a lot. There were some struggles in preseason and all that, but, I think when it comes time to put the cards on the table, I think Jimmy G is going to have a big year this year. I think they have a lot of weapons for him with George Kittle, the tight end that really went off last year, and he was going off with backup quarterbacks throwing him the football. So when we get Jimmy G in there, I feel like George Kittle is going to really be one of the best tight ends in the league this year. And, Buccaneers have a lot of holes. I mean, the 49ers aren't a perfect team, but I think they're a possible wild card team this year. And the Buccaneers, I'm not sold on Jameis. I think he had a really bad year last year. I don't think he had a very bad year last year. He had a very bad year last year. And this is really going to be his last chance. And, the new coach they brought in Arians, and, it's going to be really his last chance. And, Winston I'm talking about. And he just needs to stop making as many mistakes as he did last year. Was up there in I don't know if he led the league in interceptions, but he was up there with a lot of them. But overall, I like the 49ers in this one. I think they're a much better overall team than the Buccaneers, and I expect a big year from Jimmy Garoppolo. And then our final game in this pick 5, we have the Detroit Lions -2.5 versus the Arizona Cardinals. Cardinals are at home for this, I'm pretty sure. But, Detroit I'm not going to put any stock into all year. They're still the worst team in that division. But, you look at last year, Detroit actually got off to a good start. They beat New England early. And in this case, I think that Kyler Murray, who is going to start for the Cardinals, is going to struggle early. And I think he's going to take some lumps all year, really. And, I like Kyler, and I think he's going to be a very good quarterback in this league. But the fact of the matter is that Arizona still does not have the supporting cast around him to be able to support him. I think Patricia is going to send the dogs at Kyler. I think he's going to be uncomfortable all game and possibly just make one or two mistakes that really end up costing them this game, because he'll try to overcome it and maybe he'll make a dazzling play here and there, but I think that Patricia, if Matt Patricia, the defensive guy that he got hired for Detroit to be, if they don't have a good game plan to be able to shut down Kyler in his first game and really make him uncomfortable, then I think that says a lot about him as a hire. But I think he's competent enough to be able to make Kyler uncomfortable and just force him to at least make a couple mistakes that are going to shift the tides in this. Detroit is only 2.5 favorites, so that's only a field goal difference wins them this. I think they definitely win this game. I expect them to win by maybe 7 or 10 points. And, yeah, the Cardinals' offensive line isn't going to be able to protect Murray enough. And the Lions have enough. They don't have a great roster, but they have some defensive pieces. They have some guys that can rush the passer, and they still have Matt Stafford, and I think he's going to win this matchup, and I think the Lions win fairly comfortably. And, yeah, that's all my picks. I'll be held accountable to them throughout the week. The first one is just tomorrow night with the Packers game. So we'll stay tuned to all that. We'll stay tuned on Sunday for the Steelers and Patriots game. I'll have a wrap-up of that game, whatever may happen. The Steelers are plus 5.5 for that game. I'm not going to touch that. But I do think that they'll play New England close. Roethlisberger is 0-4 in his career in New England, fun fact. So you could say maybe he's due for one. And just playing in New England I'll never really want to bet against New England at New England. But if I were, I would do it in September, where New England is notoriously not as good in the first month of the season. And that's because there's, Belichick and the Patriots system is all about, they're going to make mistakes early to find out what they need to do when it matters. So I could see Pittsburgh winning at New England, but I'm not going to put any money on that one. You have my 5 picks. If you want to ride with them, great. I don't entirely recommend it, but if you want to, that's on you. Just don't come sending me death threats if we go 1-4. But hopefully that doesn't happen. But we'll be back Sunday. We'll be back next week for the picks against the spread. Stay tuned to the channel, subscribe, and all that YouTube stuff. And, yeah, see you next time.